Welcome to Anna's Crafty More. I'm Anna. I'd like to welcome you to my channel. If you're new here, this is a crochet and knitting channel where I talk about what I've made, crocheting and knitting, and sometimes I'll show a little bit of what I'm cooking at the moment and a little bit of chit chat. So today I'm going to be doing the 10 crochet knitting questions tag, which was created by Connie from Just Another Stitch. So let's start with the questions, and I've got them just on the side here. So the first question is, how long have you been knitting and or crocheting? Well, I've been knitting, I learned how to knit as a teenager, but not a great, how can I say, wasn't a great knitter. There was a lot of holes involved, not on purpose. And crocheting, so that's about, I'd say, around 40 years. Giving away my age now. But crocheting, I've been crocheting since my early 20s, I think it was. Question 2 is, how did I learn to crochet and or knit? So like I said, knitting since I was a teenager. My mum started to teach me how to knit because I wanted to make something for myself. And I sort of managed to make that item, which I'll go into shortly. I did manage to make that item. However, it wasn't the best. And crocheting, my sister-in-law and a close family neighbour of ours taught me how to crochet because I wanted to start making crochet blankets for people, family, and eventually made some crocheted items for my children. That's when I got married and had kids. Question number 3 is, what made you want to learn to crochet and knit? Well, I just covered that. I wanted to knit something for myself, which was a scarf at the time when I was starting to learn. And with crochet, I wanted to crochet blankets because I thought they looked really pretty, especially the granny blankets. Question number 4 is, what is the first thing that you crocheted or knitted? So the very first thing that I knitted was a scarf, and I remembered vividly what it was. It was a red and white and blue scarf, so red, white and blue. The reason why I wanted to make red, white and blue scarf was I support the Roosters football club. It's a rugby league club here in Australia, and their colours are red, white and blue. So I wanted to make a scarf. I had no idea on how to change colour or anything like that, so I sort of stumbled my way through it. It was supposed to be just, about so wide and, a nice scarf, but it ended up being very thin, and it was a little bit holey as well, but, it got there. It had the colours in. The second thing that I made, the first thing that I made in crochet was a crocheted blanket, which, as I said in the previous question, my sister-in-law and then a close family neighbour was helping me along with that. And it was a pink and white crocheted granny square blanket. It wasn't very big. It was more, it was more of a crib size. And that was my very first crocheted item that I had made. I've since progressed, since then. I hope so. The next question is, what is the last thing that you crocheted or knitted? Oh, the last thing that I crocheted, which I haven't finished quite yet, I'm still working on it, is this. It's my crocheted cardigan, which I've only ripped it back quite a few times. But this is the crocheted cardigan that I'm working on, and this is for the Crochet Cardigan Challenge. So that's the last thing that I crocheted. The last thing that I knitted, just one moment and I'll get it and I'll show you. So the last thing that I knitted, this is something that I actually finished, are these cute little baby booties. So they're a knitted bootie, and I just come up with the pattern myself. It has a cable on the top, which that belongs, the answer to this belongs to another question. And I'm working on the little matching beanie. It's all in white, and it has the you can probably see the cable there a lot better. It has the cable just down the front. So the next question is, what is the last stitch or technique that you learnt how to in crochet or knit? Well, for knitting, it's the cable. This is the first time that I've actually done proper cables. I didn't use a cable needle, but I looked up a technique on YouTube where you hold the 2 stitches, cross them over to the needle, and it works really, really well. It looks really nice. And I used Chandy from Expression Fibre Arts. I used her tutorial on how to do the cable. Crochet, I think what do you call that stitch? The back post and front post stitch, which was quite popular in the last 6 months or so. That's the sort of newish sort of technique that I did, and I did when I made my Divine hat. That was a technique that was used here for the ribbing, because I hadn't done that kind of style before, where you crochet in the back post and then crochet in the front post. Yeah, so that's the crocheting technique. The next thing is, what are you currently working on? So this one here falls under this, the crochet cardigan. That's what I'm currently working on, and it's half double crochets, double crochet, as well as the V-stitch. Probably better if you see it this way. There's V-stitches in there. And so that's for crochet, and what I'm working on knitting is finishing this baby beanie, as we call it here in Australia, a beanie, or you might call it a baby hat. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to put a pom-pom on that yet or not. We'll see how we go. The next question is, what is something you want to learn how to crochet or knit? I'd like to learn how to crochet socks. I've already learned how to knit socks. I learned that around November, December last year, and I've made quite a few pairs of socks since then. But in knitting, the thing that I'd really like to learn is how to brioche. It's a knitting stitch or technique, I suppose. I did have a chance to learn it at the beginning of last year, but life sort of got in the way and I just never got around to it. But I will eventually. The next thing is, what has been your worst frogging experience with crochet or knitting? Not so much with knitting as far as frogging, because as soon as I do realize that I've done a mistake, I do a technique which is called tink, which is actually the word knit backwards. And what I do there is, instead of creating another knit stitch, you're actually undoing stitch by stitch. It's a little bit tedious, but it works really well. You're undoing stitch by stitch, and then you're picking it up, because in knitting, all of these are live stitches, as opposed to just one stitch in crochet. But the worst frogging experience I had was with this one here. The yarn that I'm using is, just have a quick look. It's this one here. It's a Knit Crate yarn. And this color here, it's a beautiful color and everything's very soft, gorgeous, but it doesn't frog too well. Because it has baby alpaca, merino wool and organic cotton in it, and for some reason it just seems to grab onto itself when you're trying to undo it. It seems to mat a little bit, if that makes sense. So, and I had to frog this 3 times completely because I kept getting it wrong. It seemed like whenever I did my foundation chain and measured it thinking, yep, that's going to be right, once I started crocheting it in the length that I'm doing it, in the length, this way, it's folded over, it just seemed to be too long, and I have limited yarn that I'm working with, so I don't want to have to run out or put a third color into it. I've already got 2 colors that I'm using, so I've got limited amount of this and only 4 skeins of this, so I want to make sure that it's enough to finish it, to put sleeves on at least, because I don't really want a vest. And lastly, the question is here is, what project have you crocheted or knitted that you've been most proud of? My crochet project that I've been most proud of is hanging behind me, and this is the virus shawl. I absolutely love this stitch. It looks more complicated than it is, and it's just so pretty, and I love that one. And for knitting, my most proud item that I've made is these pair of socks, which they turned out absolutely beautifully. I just love them. And I pretty much made these without using a pattern. I did just the different sort of colour work stitch here myself. And this majority of this pattern is based on the Vanilla Sock by Kay from the Crazy Sock Lady. But with this here, that's something that I had put in myself. And there's a sort of a different technique along here as well as along the edge of the toe that I put in myself as well. But that's what I'm most proud of. So the shawl and the socks. Oh, silly bugger, I almost forgot. I would like to tag a few people. I'll put their links to their channels down below as well. So I'd like to tag Gary from Urban Yarn. I would like to tag Chandy from Expression Fibre Arts. I would like to tag Debbie, Canadian Crocheter. And I'd also like to tag anyone that would like to do this tag. And it's wonderful. It's a little bit more information about your crochet or knitting history. And yeah, I really like it. So thank you very much again to Connie from Just Another Stitch. So that's all I have for you today. I hope it hasn't been too long of a video for you to watch all the way through. And also, if you'd like to like and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. And come on back, because I have a giveaway also. Just a quick reminder, I have a giveaway at the moment. It was for Mother's Day, which was last Sunday, but it ends this Saturday on the 15th of May. Ends midnight, 15th of May, Sydney, Australian time. And I'll be drawing a winner on Sunday, the 16th of May. So do go to that video. I'll link it in the description box below. And like I said, if you'd like to subscribe, you'll be notified of when I upload the videos. And yeah, so good luck everyone, and thank you very much for watching. Thank you. Bye-bye. And I'd like to welcome you to my channel. If you're new here, this is a crochet, knitting, and sometimes cooking channel. I'm doing the tag. Start again. And for knitting,